All right, guys, here we are. We're back at it. Let's do this again. Let's do summary for book 31 through 35 of Beowulf. So we're getting close to the end here, guys. Um, hang tough. We're almost done. So, Beowulf in book 30, again, books 26 through 30 is all about him traveling home. Hrothgar saying, "Hey, thanks for everything you did. I think you make a great king someday, if that's the way that fate should have it." And then he gets home, and Beowulf finds Higelac, his own king, and tells him the story of what had happened to him, of who Hrothgar is, and how he had fought Grendel and Grendel's mother and won. Book 31 picks up right after Beowulf has finished telling his story. And he says, the Hrothgar, son of Halfdan, gave me all of these gifts. And he says, I would like to share them with you, Higelac, because I have very few close kinsmen left. So they bring in the helmet that's the boar shape, the gray byrnie, the war sword. He says, Hrothgar gave me this battle gear, said that King Harrogard had it long, and you should have it. The line he uses is in that second paragraph in book 31 on page 43. Have thy full joy of it. He's like, take this and use it well. So then the narrator says, I heard that he also brought in 4 horses that looked exactly alike to give to Higelac. And then he gave to Hygd, the queen, this beautiful collar that Walktheo, the king's daughter, had given him. And then 3 horses as well. And then on page 44, it's like that kind of ends his meeting with Higelac. And we go into this, like, some stuff had happened in between. Beowulf did really good things, made a good name for himself. People thought that he was a good hero. And then it happens that Higelac dies in battle. And when Higelac dies in battle, then his son Herdred also got killed, which means the kingship falls to Beowulf. And Beowulf becomes king of the Geats. So all of his good works, all of his bravery, everything that he had done was rewarded. He became king. He ruled for 50 years. And then at the very end there of book 31, that last paragraph, he ruled it well for 50 years. Old then was the king, warden of the land from long past, till that a dragon began to be masterful on the dark night, that on the high heath kept watch of a hoard in a lofty stone barrow. So now, Beowulf, after ruling as king for 50 years, has to deal with a dragon in his kingdom. Book 32 on page 44 talks about how this dragon got woken up. Some dude broke into the dragon's hoard just looking for a place to stay dry and warm. And he found all of this treasure that the dragon was guarding, and he stole some of it. And then page 45, that big long paragraph, talks about the kind of treasure this dragon had in his hoard and where that treasure had come from. Apparently, some old king had lost most of his people, had no close kinsmen that he could give his wealth to, so he creates this big stone burial chamber and takes the ashes of his people and puts in the stone burial chamber, and then takes all of the treasure that had belonged to his people and puts in this chamber, and then seals it up tight and says, when it's my time to die, then I can go be laid to rest there as well. Well, by the time he died, there was nobody else left. So this thing remains sealed and buried, and then a dragon shows up and takes over the treasure hoard. And bottom of page 45, you see this dragon had slumbered there for 300 years. This dragon took over this treasure hoard, hung out there for 300 years. And then this dude broke into his house, wakes up to steal some of the treasure, which wakes up the dragon. He actually smells the treasure, smells the guy who had been in there, tracks him down, and that's where book 32 ends. Book 33 starts right there. The dragon then burns this guy's village to the ground. And unfortunately, this is Beowulf's mead house. So the dragon goes right to Beowulf and burns his own mead house down. Beginning of book 33. Speedily then was the terror of it made known to Beowulf for truth, that in his own homestead, the fairest of houses, the gift seat of the Geats, had been consumed in surging flame. Grief of heart was it to the good king, the greatest of sorrows. So Beowulf's own home gets burned to the ground, lays waste to Beowulf's stronghold, and Beowulf then says that he's going to go after the dragon. On page 47, in the middle of book 33, we then find out some of the stuff that happened to Beowulf in between his coming home to see Hygelac and his becoming king. They kind of jump back in time to tell part of this story. So it's like Beowulf was fighting with Hygelac in Friesland. He actually had swum with 30 suits of armor on his back. Wait, what? This guy goes swimming with a big old couple bags full of like 30 suits of armor. That's how strong Beowulf is. Again, that's part of that old English heroic tradition. This guy's supposed to be so big and so strong that nothing can take him down. After he does this great deed and swims with 30 swords, there's 30 suits of armor on his back, then he finds that Hygelac has died. And so he swims back, and that's where Hygd, the queen, gave him, she's like, Hygelac is dead, you should be king. And that's when she wanted him to be king. So then it talks about some more of the battles that Beowulf fought in the early part of his kingdom. Page then says, he was and the end of book 33, on page 48, that last line is, he was a good king. So in page 34, now Beowulf says, I'm going to take 13 warriors, myself and 12 others, and we're going to go track this dragon down. So he learns who this dude is, who stole some of the dragon's treasure, makes him guide them to where the dragon is. And Beowulf knows that he's not going to make it out of this alive. Page 48. Then the king, stout in strife, the gold friend of the Geats, sat him on the foreland whilst he bade his hearth comrades farewell. His spirit was sad, flickering within him and ready for death. Weird was very near, that must assail the old man, seek out the treasure of his soul, part asunder life from body. Not long then was the life of the atheling enclosed in flesh. Beowulf knows he's going to die. but he can't just sit around and wait for old age to take him. That wouldn't be heroic. That's not what the Old English ideal is. So he goes to seek out battle one last time, and he does it to save his kingdom. He even tells his people, he says, "In my youth I came safe from many a shock of battle and time of strife. I mind me of all. I was 7 years old when the Prince of Treasure, the gracious lord of his people, King Hrethel, took me at my father's hands, held me and had me, gave me treasure and nurture, mindful of our kinship. I was no whit less loved by him during life as his man in hall than any of his sons, Heribald and Haethcyn, or mine own Higelac. In unfitting wise was the deathbed strewn from the eldest of them by a kinsman's deeds." So now we get this story in book 34 and 35 of what happened to Higelac's two older brothers, Haethcyn and Heribald. So basically, one of them looks like Heribald got killed by Haethcyn. Sounds like it was an accident. They were out hunting, and Haethcyn's like got his bow out. And he's taking aim at this deer, and he lets the arrow go and misses the deer and shoots his brother. Heribald died. Haethcyn then was hanged, was executed, and that means Higelac was the only son left alive to become king. So he tells that story in books 34 and 35. And then he says on page 50, middle of book 35, Beowulf spake, gave forth word of vaunting for the last time. In my youth I came safe from many a battle. Yet if the fell spoilers seek me out from this earth hall, will I, the old warden of my people, seek the strife, do deeds worthy praise. So Beowulf says, I'm going to go fight. He's like, I'm not as foolish as I was with Grendel. With Grendel, I didn't have a sword, but here I will take weapon. He says, but not foot's lengths will I give back from the keeper of the barrow, but it shall befall us in fight at the wall, as weird the ruler of all men may grant. Await ye, men, in your war gear, clad in your byrnies, whether of us twain may fare the better of our wounds, and after our fight to the death. It is no venture for you, nor is it meet for any man to use his strength against the monster, achieve earlship save for me alone. By my might shall I gain the goal, or battle, life's peril shall take your lord. So Beowulf says, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to kill this dragon, or I'm going to die trying. And we keep getting mention of weird here. Again, fate. Beowulf knows that it is not his fate to survive this fight. And the first thing he does when he walks in is he yells. He makes this big battle yell to announce to the dragon that he is there, to wake the dragon from his slumber. Beowulf's got to beat his chest a little bit and announce that he's there to get the dragon's attention. Well, and it works. Page 51, the dragon hears Beowulf and goes and attacks him, starts breathing fire on him. And it's so hot that it melts his sword. He strikes at the dragon and actually breaks his sword. And so he's got this big iron shield that he had crafted specifically for this. And he's using this iron shield to hide behind. And his men see that he is struggling. Page 51 to 52. Not at all did his own close comrades, sons of Atheling, stand about him in the press, showing courage in battle, but betook them to the woods to save their lives. The soul of but one of them swelled with sorrow, not can ever set aside kinship in sight of him that judgeth aright. These brave warriors, these supposedly brave warriors that Beowulf took with him, they were scared. And 11 of them took off and ran for the woods, and only one of them stood to protect his king. That ends book 35. So that's it for this one, guys. We will do books 36 through 40 in our next summary. Keep working on stuff and email me if you've got questions.